Welcome to the Modern Medicine Movement Podcast. Dr. Thomas Hemingway here. Super pumped, super grateful. Woohoo, let's go. Welcome. Another week, guys. 2022 is here to stay. Here we are. So pumped, so grateful. We are back and live and all of the things. Oh, so excited for you guys. Hopefully, many of you will see me tomorrow, actually. I'm going to be in Scottsdale, Arizona at the Align Ambition event, which is just getting started real soon. In fact, it's super amazing. We're just, oh my gosh. You guys probably heard a little bit about all the just drama this week, putting not only that event together, but back here at the home front, we had kind of a freaky carbon monoxide scare. I mean, that crap is the real deal. As an ER doctor, I've literally seen people die or become significantly affected by carbon monoxide poisoning. And when you're in a place and it's winter time, and, you know, all of us, including me, if we're in a cold place, we burn some sort of fuel to keep our house warm. You know, where we happen to be at the moment, we burn natural gas, or actually it's propane. And any kind of combustion can have as a byproduct carbon monoxide. So you gotta have a detector in your home. When I grew up, you know, nobody heard of such things. We never had such things. Nowadays, you can buy one for $30 on Amazon and plug it into your wall. So it's not hard to obtain one. I'd recommend everybody have one because this gas is colorless and odorless, and it can kill. Little did I know, I was, doing the typical guy thing, just ignoring the initial warning that came off. We have one set up with the, a lot of the newer smoke alarms also have a secondary carbon monoxide sensor, and a lot of the alarm systems have the same, and ours went off. And I was like, what the heck? We're not burning anything. The fireplaces aren't on. Like, what would that be from? I thought it was a fluke. Like maybe the thing needed a new battery or something. And, here I am, the ER doctor, just trying to explain away the stuff. And, what was funny is that day that it was going on, as I was having a major migraine headache. And I hadn't thought that much of it. I get them a couple times a year. Thank goodness I don't get them very often anymore. But I was actually having a pretty major migraine that day, and come to find out, like, duh. The reason I was having that was from the carbon monoxide. Like carbon monoxide, one of the initial symptoms is headache, being a little flushed. Like if your cheeks are a little flushed, you're also maybe a little bit nauseous. You might feel like you got a little GI bug, like the stomach flu or something. But those are the first signs of carbon monoxide poisoning. And so anyway, thank goodness this alarm system we have, like literally it called not the cops, but the fire department, because the levels were so high. It was like well above 50s. So the fire department came over, and I said, hey guys, I'm so sorry to, bother you guys, but, maybe you could just use your own equipment and just verify that indeed the carbon monoxide level is elevated, and just tell me, where it is highest in the house, and we'll try to figure this stuff out. And they were super nice. I think probably, even better that it wasn't the middle of the night yet. We had literally just eaten dinner. It was like 7:00 on a Sunday night. And so these guys are tromping through the house in their big boots and, just checking everywhere. And sure enough, man, the levels were super elevated, well above 50. And they're like, you know what, guys, you probably shouldn't sleep here tonight. And it's like 10 degrees outside. Where the heck are we going to sleep? It's already 7:30 at night. Where are we going to go? We're up in the mountains. Oh my gosh. Thank goodness we have some amazing neighbors who just didn't happen to be in town this weekend. And so they let us sleep at their, crash their house Sunday night so we could figure this crap out. And so we're fine. We didn't wake up dead or whatever. We were all good, and we had a place to sleep, and we were getting this thing figured out. So don't ignore the warning signs like I did. If your carbon monoxide detector's going bananas, it's probably for a reason, and you should open all the windows, which we did. Got the levels down, but you can't sleep with the windows open when it's 10 degrees outside. So anyway, don't ignore the warning signs. It can happen to any of us. Even the guys like me that know about this crap, the ER doctors that have literally seen people die from this. We can be, as they say, sometimes doctors are the worst patients, and we like to minimize stuff, and in my family, it's probably not a good expression, but if somebody's freaking out or something's going down, and, we just kind of, as you guys probably know, my wife and I by now, we just kind of roll with the punches, man. We got 6 kids, and, a lot of crap happens from time to time, especially this last week, actually getting ready for this Align event. Like, so many different things have popped up, and we're just rolling with it. And it's, the event's happening. It's starting soon. It's going to be amazing. And, we just don't stress that much. And, sometimes we use this old adage that sometimes in the ER, we might say like, well, nobody's dying at the moment. It's all good. Like, don't stress. It's okay. Like, what's the worst that could happen? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Our kids probably get tired of us talking that way, but we do have a significant amount of perspective, having worked in the hospital setting for over 20 years, and myself specifically in sort of that life or death ER, room where crap goes down and stuff can change in a moment, and it's crazy. And so, no, it hasn't jaded me, but I think it has, I think it takes a lot to surprise me nowadays, because there's a lot of weirdness I've seen over the years, and a lot of amazing stuff as well. And it I focus on that stuff, the stuff the miraculous things, just the little things, the humanity, the connection that we all have as humans, and, just that, just the beauty of a smile, and, a child being born, and, this kind of thing. I mean, it fuels me for a good long time. So anyway, oh my gosh, just wanted to share that crazy story with you guys and just get amped for this week. I'm going to be speaking tomorrow at the Align Events Live. I'm so pumped. And if you didn't get a chance to go, don't worry. There will be an option where you can purchase the recording, the entire event with all the speakers, including me and Mr. Dave Hollis and Patrice Washington, Heidi Powell, Jasmine Starr, Tiffany Peterson, Amber Lee Lago, Brooke, of course, who's just going to be out there and crushing it in multiple talks. Alejandra, who's an amazing gal. There's just going to be some incredible people there. And oh my gosh, you will not want to miss this. So even if you couldn't make it to Scottsdale Live, which it's just going to be amazing, it's going to be available to you. So be looking out for that on the AlignEventsLive.com website. Follow myself and my wife on Instagram, at Hemingway Half Dozen or at Aloha Surf Doc, and we'll let you know when those recordings are available, because it's just going to be one of those things that, this crap can change your life. It's just awesome, awesome stuff. What a way to kickstart 2022, right? What an amazing way to get the year started. I'm so pumped. Oh my gosh. In fact, today I'm podcasting on a topic that one of you guys chose. I put up a post just a couple of days ago and said, hey, what do you guys want to learn about? And some blessed soul out there wanted to know more about the gut-brain, the gut-brain connection. What the heck is up with the gut and the brain? Well, a lot is up with that. In fact, I did an entire course on gut health. And one of the chapters in my book that's going to be coming out this year, which is so excited about it, guys. In fact, I just bought the website domain for the book. It's called thepreventablebook.com. So I'm going to have a little book website. The book is called Preventable. Super excited about that. So, I'm talking today about the gut-brain connection. We're going to get into it. Super exciting stuff. Lots going on. And this all came from one of you guys, from my free Facebook group, the Modern Medicine Movement Health and Wellness Facebook group. So if you're not a part of that group, it's free. Search for it on Facebook, Modern Medicine Movement Health and Wellness Facebook group. Connect with me there on social media at Aloha Surf Doc, at Modern Medicine Movement. And please, please, please subscribe to my free newsletter. Dang, it's free. And I provide all kinds of cool, healthful, and helpful information for you once a week, just on Thursdays to Thrive with Dr. Thomas. And you can subscribe to this free on my website, modernmedicinemovement.com. So hop on over there. It's going to be amazing. And it's weekly and it's free. So if you're not in yet, get in there, get in the group. It's free and it is good, high quality information, no spam, just the good stuff that you want to know about. And there you'll be the first to know about new podcasts being released, my book. I've just written several new courses, including one on gut health, which will just go deep into the weeds, get you all the information you need to know about not only how this crap works, but how you can optimize it in your life. So please, please, please subscribe, modernmedicinemovement.com. Scroll down and click on the link for the newsletter. And you got this. Yoo-hoo!
Recording in progress.
All right, here we go. We are we are live on Zoom, and this will be on my YouTube channel soon. And I just can't wait to chat about this connection, the connection between the gut and the brain. I think all of us have probably heard, that expression, butterflies in the stomach, or we felt that, right? We get a little bit right before. Right now, like I'm just thinking about tomorrow, I'm going to be in front of a couple hundred people. I'm going to be sharing my thing. I'm going to be doing an hour-long keynote. That's just going to be, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I've been thinking about this, dreaming about it, and just sharing it over and over in my mind and envisioning the awesomeness of having you guys in person. And, I get a little butterflies just thinking about it right now. And that's part of this connection, the gut-brain connection, And what's cool about this is, one of the original, I guess we call them, right? One of the original physicians, Hippocrates, the same guy who said, do no harm. I took the Hippocratic Oath, 25 or so years ago. And he also made this statement, at least it's been attributed to him, that all disease begins in the gut. In the gut. Like he knew about how important the gut was. I like to say all health begins in the gut. That's what I like to say. I apologize, guys. I'm still trying to get used to this dry air. It is dry around here, and anyway, the original descriptions of the gut and the importance came way back, several thousand years ago with Hippocrates, making that statement: all disease begins in the gut. And much more recently, there's this cool. I would say N equals 1 experiment. It was kind of a misadventure that occurred in the 1800s that provided a lot of insight into this gut-brain connection and just the importance of how the gut interplays with our overall health and with what's going on in the brain. And this happened due to an inadvertent gunshot wound that a Canadian fur trader sustained. His name was Alexis St. Martin, and he was taken care of by a United States Army surgeon by the name of William Beaumont. And in this process, he survived. He was shot basically in the abdomen, which, holy crap, back in the 1800s to survive a gunshot wound, a GSW to the abdomen, like, holy crap, that is not typical to survive that kind of thing. But he not only survived, but in the process being cared for by this Army surgeon, Dr. Beaumont, what happened was there ended up being created a connection, not a natural connection, if you will, but a connection. It's called a fistula, in which the gut, the intestinal tract, basically got connected with the skin. A hole basically developed between the intestinal tract and the skin. And through this hole, this Dr. Beaumont could actually monitor different things with digestion. He learned a lot of stuff. He was taking samples of, partly digested foods, and he would feed this fur trader, Alexis St. Martin, certain things, and then he would see how it got digested. And he got lots of information from this, I guess fortuitous, but also serendipitous connection that formed naturally between the gut and the skin. And he got to get all kinds of data, if you will, on some important stuff that was going on in the gut that, at that point in the 1800s, we just didn't know about. Now, I wouldn't be wishing any, window to the gut happening to you, any fistula. I've seen a lot of these fistulas happen as a result of, multiple abdominal surgeries that didn't heal well and things like that. And, typically if one of these occurs, you want to try to cut it out and get rid of it. You don't want your gut connected to the skin. But back in the day in the 1800s, they didn't really know how to, deal with this. And they kind of saw it as fortuitous because they got to, this Dr. Beaumont got to study a bunch of stuff with respect to the gut and provide a lot of new information that they just didn't know about. And he described what was kind of cool during this whole process. He described a lot of things that with the experience of Alexis St. Martin, who was the fur trader who got this gunshot wound, having this connection that he was able to study, they made a lot of discoveries with respect to the gut. And some of the initial discoveries, at least scientific ones that were written down with respect to this gut-brain connection, because we are, there is basically a superhighway of information being exchanged 24/7 all the time. It's like when somebody quote unquote blows up your phone and you get text messages and, Facebook, Instagram messages up the wazoo. This kind of thing is happening to a much greater degree 24/7 between your gut. That's right, your intestinal tract, all of what makes up your gut, everything from the mouth to anus, as they say, and your brain. Like, this is so intricately connected. I can't wait to get into this. So let's talk first about kind of just the basic physical connection. There's basically a superhighway of neurons that connects the brain to the gut. In fact, they think there's over 500 million of these neurons connected from the brain to the gut. And the biggest kind of widest superhighway, if you will, is the vagus nerve. Not the Las Vegas. No. It's VAGUS. Excuse me. Wow. I think I'm allergic to this room or something. There's too much dust in here. I don't know, the dry air or whatever. But the vagus nerve, the VAGUS, is the superhighway that connects physically, anatomically, the brain to the gut. And in the gut, we got, like I said, 500 million plus neurons there, which is an incredible number. That's huge. And we have this whole, it's called the enterochromaffin cells of the gut. They're connected via this vagus nerve. There's all kinds of messages being exchanged bidirectionally. In other words, the brain sending messages to the gut sending messages to the brain, and this is just happening over and over and over again. And this is just the physical connection through the vagus nerve. Now, well, like they say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Well, I'll tell you, what happens in this vagus nerve, the VAGUS, does not stay in the vagus nerve. It goes all over the place. It goes to the brain, goes to the gut. All kinds of connections there. So it's not just staying in that superhighway there. It's going out to the body. It's going out to the whole milieu, as we talk about, right? And so what's very interesting is that this has been looked at now that we kind of are starting to appreciate that. There's been lots of studies that look specifically, not only at just this vagus nerve connection, but there is one in specific that I'm familiar with that looked at the vagus nerve with respect to Crohn's disease. Many of you guys know Crohn's disease is a inflammatory bowel disorder, which is, the sine qua non is lots of inflammation, and you get lots of GI symptoms, abdominal pain, diarrhea, constipation, bloody stool, all kinds of stuff. It's not a fun disease to have, and it's primarily caused by inflammation. We had a whole podcast on inflammation, so go back and re-listen to that if you want to get into the whole inflammatory nature of this. But what they found is that in these folks that were suffering from Crohn's or other similar ailments like inflammatory bowel, ulcerative colitis, etc., they had some issues with their vagus nerve, the one that connects with the gut. And they had less communication going on than they might otherwise expect. And they found that the function, if you will, the communication superhighway of the vagus nerve was reduced in Crohn's disease. And then a follow-up study showed if they fed, now this particular study, this has been done in humans too, but this particular study that I'm alluding to now was one in which they studied mice and they gave them a specific type of probiotic. It was reported in the journal of the National Academy of Sciences in 2011, and they used lactobacillus, and it was a probiotic. And what they found is and this was actually really cool, and you could only do this particular study in mice because what they did was they fed them the probiotic, which had the lactobacillus strain in there, and what they found that it decreased the amount of stress hormone or cortisol in the blood, feeding the mice this particular lactobacillus, lactic acid producing bacilli or bacteria, which are the healthful, one of the strains of the healthful ones that we want to have in our gut. But then they had a second group that not only they fed the same probiotic to, but they cut their vagus nerve. In other words, they no longer had that physical connection anymore with the gut and the brain. And because of that, even though they were getting the probiotic, the messages weren't getting back to the brain to reduce their stress. And so we need this connection. The moral of the story is not only do we need that physical or anatomical connection via the vagus nerve, but we also need all of these other peptides and transmitters. I mean, I think you guys, I just mentioned neurotransmitter like serotonin, for example, the so-called happy hormone. I think most of you guys have heard this by now, especially if you've been following me, but the overwhelming, in fact, the latest study I found on this showed that it's up to 95%. That's right, 95% of the serotonin in our body is located in the gut. 95%, and only 5%, that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% is located in the brain. Like, this is way more than, I think the initial reports and kind of estimates were in the sort of maybe 70, 80% of the serotonin was located in the gut. Now upwards of 90+% of it has been isolated to be in the gut as the predominant site in the body of this happy hormone. Like, holy crap, if that doesn't tell you that this connection between the gut and the brain is important, like, I don't know what will. I mean, that's pretty profound, pretty interesting. And as we know, that's involved in so many things, everything from our mood, whether we're happy, elated, pumped up, getting that serotonin going, and also dopamine's involved there as well. And this is actually, thank goodness that we're appreciating this now, because what we found is a lot of these disorders of things like serotonin, for example, are related to not so awesome gut health. Everything from not only just the anxiety, the depression, the mood stuff, but disorders like autism, for example, have been traced to the gut, as well as even cognitive and neurodegenerative disorders such as Parkinson's and Alzheimer's depend a lot on the health of the gut. So what's cool about this is twofold. One is that this provides a treatment avenue for these conditions like autism, like depression, anxiety, PTSD, all these mood states, which of course rely on serotonin, but it provides an alternative treatment modality that doesn't involve chemical pharmaceuticals, right? Because all the chemical pharmaceuticals out there, although some of them work a little, have lots of side effects. Anybody who's ever been on an antidepressant will tell you, like, they ain't great for libido, and they ain't great for a lot of other things, for weight gain and all these other things. And so a lot of them have significant side effects. And, this isn't a podcast to poo-poo the antidepressants. It's just to add to the potential treatment options. There's more out there than just a pill, guys. There's lots of other healthful and natural things that we can do. And this has been looked at. Anybody who's been following gut health in the last decade or more knows that there's significant connections here between mood and, state. And, now these disorders that I just mentioned, everything from autism to Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, depression, anxiety, PTSD, all of these things can be potentially treated through the gut and improved gut health. Isn't that I just find that phenomenal. I mean, you can see me if you're watching on YouTube. I'm just smiling. This is like awesome stuff. And what's cool is that, these neurotransmitters, if you will, like dopamine, serotonin, etc., not only are significantly produced in the gut, but those little guys that live in us, on us, all about us, the guys in the gut, right? The microbes, or what we collectively refer to as the microbiota, they are involved in this. That's why that study I was telling you about, where they fed the mice the probiotics, they were able to show the positive effects when they had the lactobacillus strains. They increased their happy hormones or healthful neurotransmitters like serotonin, for example. GABA is another one. GABA is kind of like that neurotransmitter, if you will, that kind of mellows you out, and it's like one of those kind of that keeps you at ease, that not too stressed out. And there's certain strains of probiotics that can increase the production of GABA. And so clinically, what this does is it helps people to not be so amped up and anxious. It helps kind of quell their anxiety and kind of improve their mood. It can reduce depression. And this has all been shown clinically through probiotics, mounting that increase in GABA, increase in serotonin. So this is super cool stuff. Beyond the neurotransmitters, there's also a lot of other peptides that the gut bacteria can release, and these can be good or they can potentially be bad. If we got the wrong kind of gut bacteria in there, the kind that love those carbohydrates, there's studies that have looked at this where they literally can sabotage us. They produce chemicals, neuropeptides, that gut bacteria do, that can travel up to the brain through this gut-brain axis. And they could tell our brain, hey, eat more of those Cheetos or Oreos or processed foods. Like, they literally sabotage our cravings. And they do it to promote their own survival. This has been shown. This is science. This is the data. So if you're craving sweets all the time, or processed foods, or chips, or crackers, or whatever it is, it's not that you're weak or you lack willpower. It could just be that your gut ain't healthy. It's that simple. So you got to get your gut right. I mean, it's this you can't make this stuff up. It's amazing. There's lots of science behind it. And so these bacteria in our gut, they produce a lot of different chemical messengers. They also produce what's called short-chain fatty acids, or the SCAFAs, like butyrate, propionate, and acetate. And these will feed our gut cells, our intestinal cells. And they're super important because they they not only feed our gut cells, but they can also help with digestion by producing, you guys have probably heard of, there's, I don't want to say the chemical name, or there's actually a medication out there that uses this technology, but the gut microbes can actually produce bile acids. These help us to break down and digest our food. And it's amazing because they did this study. I'll just share it with you real quick because I found it so interesting. because they looked at the production of these bile acids and digestion, and what they found is that the different colonies of the gut bacteria, they could alter this. They could alter the production of these bile acids, and bile acids are super important. Like if you're having issues and you can't digest your food well, it could be a problem with your gut flora, your microbiota, what people call the microbiome. The microbiome is the collective information, the DNA, all of that important information that's found in your gut from all the bacteria that live there. And I don't know if you realize this, but there is more genetic material in your gut than in your entire genome, like far and wide. That you're easily by several thousand, easily outnumbered by the genetic material in the bacteria that live in us, on us, within us. That's the microbiome, is all that genetic information. And it can alter the way our body does stuff. It's really interesting. And maybe even more so than our own human genome. There's more of it, number one. It's just it's incredible. There's so much going on there in these microscopic organisms, and they can affect our lives in so many ways, and hopefully in so many positive ways. Hopefully so many positive ways. I mean, not only is it through communication, but we know the gut plays a significant role in immunity, right? This whole business of inflammation, which I podcasted about a couple of weeks ago, a lot of it goes awry in the gut. Because if you think about it, our gut is this, 30-foot long tract of, stomach, intestines, and so on, that is literally a window to the world, to the outside world. And what goes in our mouth, whether it be food or what I affectionately refer to as food-like substances, which is a lot of that highly processed foods that we may eat from time to time. Like that crap can be toxic. And there's literally only one single cell thick in the intestinal tract. It's literally much thinner than paper, but thinner than a human hair. One single cell thick. That's the border between that outside chaos, those food-like substances and all those chemicals that many of those processed foods have, and our insides, our bloodstream, all of the stuff that goes on that needs to go on properly. There's literally that teeny tiny barrier in the intestinal tract. It is literally a window to the world. So we need to pay attention to what goes in our mouth. Food and drink, because if that single cell gets disrupted, and you guys have heard of the so-called leaky gut, for example, that's when this gets messed up. And when that happens, the inflammation goes bananas, because in our gut, we have to have a lot of immune cells because they protect us. That single cell lining is so thin that if crap gets through there, you got to have your immune system pumped up and ready to go to identify the invaders, to identify the allergens and toxins and crap that shouldn't be there. And so our immune system is intricately involved here. And so anyway, I digress a little bit, but there's so many important things that go on between the gut and the brain, and that connectivity, if you will, the super highway between the gut and the brain, not only through just that vagus nerve, but all the neurotransmitters, is significantly affected by what we put in our mouth, because what we feed will breed, right? What we feed will breed. And so if we want to have the healthful bacteria there, we got to feed them the crap that they like, not the processed foods, because that's what the bad guys like. That's you guys have heard of the So there's the Firmicutes, right? And you guys have heard I think it's been shared a lot in the popular spaces lately. If you want to be, so-called, toned and pumped and firm and cute, you got to lose the Firmicutes, right? It's a phyla of bacteria that are not so healthful. And some of these are the ones that make you crave the junk food and so on. So if you want to be firm and cute, you got to get rid of the Firmicutes, as they say. You want to build up the good stuff like the Lactobacillus and the Akkermansia and all of these good strains of bacteria. And to do so, it actually starts at the end of your fork. And before there, it starts in your cart at the grocery store, right? Excuse me. The things that we feed, it's not just feeding for ourselves. I always laugh, like, my wife's been pregnant 6 times, and, and you're feeding the baby too, right? And, but we as guys, we never even use that analogy, right? Like, we're not only feeding us, but we're feeding trillions and trillions of bacteria. And they may be dictating what you eat without you even knowing it, right? They may be sending these signals like, hey, you should eat this junk food, or you should eat this or that. Hopefully, we are promoting the good stuff, the guys that want to help us, right? The Akkermansia, which is super helpful. And to feed that, we got to do prebiotic-rich foods, which are fibrous, that so-called non-digestible fiber. The vegetables that have all that fiber in there, like asparagus, Brussels sprouts, and all that goodness that provides the fiber, the greens, and basically whole food, WHOLE, not like blended up juices and things. We need to eat the whole food, right? Like I like to say, you got to eat your fruit. Don't drink it, because if you're just drinking juice, you're missing out on all the fiber. The fiber is what feeds the good stuff, the probiotics. So this is just super cool stuff, guys. We got to pay attention, and I'm not going to belabor that right now. I did a whole series of podcasts earlier on gut health and how to get your gut healthy. So you can go back to some of my original podcasts. I talked all about gut health, but today I just really wanted to just elucidate and share this amazing connectivity between the gut and the brain, because this links our body in such an important way. And if we can get our gut healthy, we can help avoid a lot of these issues, things like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's potentially. We can help treat autism. We can help with a lot of these common, anxiety, stressful disorders, depression. All these things can be improved through increased gut health. Our brain health, guys, our brain health, or what we used to call mental health, can be significantly impacted by our gut. This so-called second brain, like, super important. What's down in the gut is so dang important. And the cool thing about it is, at the end of the day, we are in control of this. We get to decide what lands at the end of our fork. I'm going to just share with you one final review article that I just found fascinating. It's from 2020. It's entitled "The Gut Microbiome and Depression: How Microbes Affect the Way We Think." And this was so fascinating. I'll put a link in the show notes, because it talked all about, everything from serotonin to dopamine to the hormones like cortisol, epinephrine, and how all of these messages play out between the gut and the brain, and not just, the gut as in the intestines, but the little guys, the microbiome, the microbiota that live there. And they concluded, quote, that there is a strong link between the microbes in our gut and how we think, and that the gut-brain axis is an essential pathway to consider in the management of brain health and mood disorders. And I just can't not share this crap. It's so awesome, because it just provides a whole nother potential, treatment for a lot of these disorders, and just a way to stay healthy. Isn't that amazing? Are you guys just getting excited? Well, I know I am, and I just can't wait to share more of this with you. I did an entire course on this stuff, an entire course on gut health, and all about how we can optimize this secret weapon, if you will, that unfortunately for millennia, most physicians have never paid attention to. Even though Hippocrates back in the day, he said all disease begins in the gut. Now I say all health begins in the gut. So I love you guys. Hope you got some value here. I hope you got to get excited about this connection between the gut and the brain, because it is fascinating. Tons of cool stuff out there, lots of data. I'll share a couple of studies in the show notes. And then if you want more, go back, re-listen to my podcast on gut health, and then be looking for my upcoming course, a whole entire course, a bunch of modules on nothing but gut health. So exciting. This is just earth-shattering stuff. I love it. It's changed my life and my kids and thousands of others. It's what a game changer. What a game changer. So love you guys. Can't wait to share more with you. So hop on over there to my website, modernmedicinemovement.com, and find out when my courses will be released and when my new book, Preventable, comes out. It's going to be real soon. Can't wait.